In 1887, Thomas Edison, the great American inventor, or the great American fraud, depending on where you stand, founded the Edison Phonograph Company to profit from the phonograph technology he created in 1877. Edison ran the company himself, and boy, did he run it into the ground. Although Edison recognized the consumer appeal to the device, and he acquired and offered more entertainment recordings for his machine, he couldn't mass-produce the wax cylinders because they were difficult to make, and so sales were limited. In response, Columbia designed and sold lighter discs, now called records. Talk about being beaten at your own game. The records had sleeker designs and allowed for faster production than the wax cylinder. Edison expanded into a more profitable business in 1916, but this would be the demise of his phonograph company because it meant that he allowed competition to dominate the business. By the time he created his own disc division in 1913, it was already too late. The Edison Company shut down in 1929. Now, Thomas Edison was a shitty CEO, definitely among one of the worst. However, you can sympathize with him. He was a genius. But John Foley, now, he is a proper idiot CEO. John Foley is one of those rich people that makes everyone think it must be really easy to get rich. John Foley and Donald Trump. As the CEO of Peloton Interactive Incorporated, an exercise equipment and media company based in New York, John Foley has become the perfect prototype on how to be a terrible CEO. After this fiasco is over and Peloton Interactive has been sold, because it will be at this rate, John Foley should take a break from society and write a hit book titled The Other Side of Common Sense. There have been CEOs inadequate at running their companies, but John Foley has now taken the baton and is running his company into the ground. Yeah, John Foley has become a running joke among CEOs. So, what did he do? When we look back to industries that profited from the coronavirus lockdown, we always think the tissue paper industry would be up there on the list. Wrong. Apparently, when sardined into their apartment by the pandemic, people began to exercise a lot. Sales in Peloton's exercise treadmill rose astronomically during the pandemic, and John Foley intensified production. No one can fault that. The problem is that even after the lockdown had been lifted, John Foley ordered the continued production of treadmills, going as far as buying a defunct treadmill company, Precor, for $431 million. To put that into perspective, your treadmill company is overproducing treadmills. Then you go out into the market to buy another treadmill company. John Foley himself has admitted that we are now making more bikes and treads than we are selling. One of the employees at Peloton observed that the warehouses resemble a jigsaw puzzle, with employees trying to figure out where to stuff bikes. Foley would then proceed to invest $400 million to develop 1 million square feet of production capacity. Several months later, Foley delayed the progress, admitting that capacity was not needed. Back to the point on employees, Peloton is one of the worst places for them. According to Blackswell, an activist investor at Peloton, employee count has grown by over 20 times in the last 4 years, from 443 in 2017 to a whopping 8,976 in 2022. Which is good in a way because they definitely need hands moving those unsold treadmills. But here's the problem. Compared to other subscription-based companies, Peloton has the lowest revenue per employee, $471,397. The next company on the list has an employee revenue of nearly $1.5 million. The crimes of John Foley as CEO do not end there. He has no gift for hiring people. John Foley admitted in Time magazine that, "I think I am not a very good manager." No shit, Sherlock. Foley appointed his wife, Jill, to run one of the businesses of Peloton, even though it was obvious she was inadequate at it. That is literally nepotism at its finest, but you have also got to admire the couple goals. Together forever, dragging companies through the mud. John Foley has now stepped down as CEO, and Barry McCarty, former Netflix and Spotify CFO, has been newly appointed. John Foley will become executive chair of the board of directors, and the company has now fired 2,800 employees, which represents 20% of its corporate workforce. In his resignation statement, Foley said, "While I will always be Peloton's most loyal member and biggest supporter, I couldn't think of a better CEO for Peloton's next stage of growth than Barry McCarty. The man is so bad at running the company, he became a glorified cheerleader. In this ignominious race for the worst CEO in history, there is no questioning. John Foley is running away with this. I just couldn't help myself with one last running joke."